So today, I'm going to talk about the annual review of low carbon development in China 2014. As many of you have known, this is the fourth time we're releasing this annual review. And we started the endeavor since 2010, and we have been producing the 4 volumes. In this year, and our focus on several different hot topics, and these include the smog control and the co-benefit between smog control and low carbon development in China. And this also include shale gas development. We would like to answer the question whether or not China can repeat the success of the United States in reducing the carbon dioxide emissions through development of shale gas. And the third area we looked at is a very hot topic, which is the urbanization in China. As many of us know, that urbanization in China has been going on in a very rapid rate, in a very large scale. Every year, just about 10 million people are moving from the rural area to the urban area. We would like to answer the question, what kind of an impact this will bring in terms of low carbon development, especially in the context that we know in the world history, in most cases, urbanization is almost always go hand in hand with high carbon development. And of course, we continue our effort on reviewing the performance of low carbon finance, and also we documented the data in low carbon development here in China. And altogether, we divided the report into 4 different parts, and some hot topics and some traditional areas. Now I'm going to show with you the major findings. We put them into 10 different points. The first findings is about smog control. And basically what we found here is smog control campaign has promoted the coal consumption cap. And as we know that in China, coal is the primary source of energy. Just about 70% of coal, the coal just makes up the total overall energy mix in China. And the burning of coal for power production, for other industrial processes, are the primary reasons, not only for the carbon emission, but also for emission for other pollutants, including sulfur dioxide, including the NOx. And we know sulfur dioxide, NOx, and the other pollutants just makes up the major part of smog. And starting in last year, January 2013, and when this major breakout of smog in Beijing, that caused attentions in Beijing, nationwide, and worldwide. In the January 2013 alone, 26 days are just obscured or covered by this major smog. And this smog extended to cover 1.4 million square kilometers in the eastern part of China. And this is an area in size equivalent to, you put the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Italy. You put all of them together, that's less than the area covered by the smog. And immediately, this has become not only from environmental issue to a health concern to a social issue, and finally becomes a nationwide political issue, because a lot of people are very frustrated. They keep asking the question, with the rapid development of China, the rapid economic growth. And is this what we have imagined in mind? And if not, and how are we going to go about the development, the economic growth, and to balance the consideration of environment and development? In September 2013, the central government put a new regulation, come up with an air pollution control action plan. And basically this action plan calls for putting a cap on the coal use in some of the major areas that suffered the most of this major pollutant, the smog. And this includes the Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei area. This also includes the Yangtze River Delta surrounding Shanghai area, and also include this area of the Delta, the Pearl River Delta, and places mainly including the Guangdong province. And these areas, are the primary economic development zones. In terms of GDP growth and the overall volume, that is the major part of the Chinese economy. And for a long time, the central government and the local government alike, they have been discussing about this idea to put a cap of the overall use of coal, with very limited success, because the local government, they're really relying on coal, on burning the fossil fuel to fire the economic engine. And by reducing the coal, reducing the overall power use, or overall energy use, that could hurt the economic growth. So this has been a sticking point. But with the smog control, the central government is able to work with the local government, with the provincial government, to put a cap. Why? Because this has become a major political issue. It has become a major crisis, and this crisis has been translated into a push for coal use. The second major finding of this report has to do with the natural gas use. With the same concern of smog control, and many local governments, they have come up with the idea of replacing the coal use with the natural gas. But China is quite constrained by the overall resources, the supply of natural gas. And one major source of natural gas, therefore, has become making the synthetic natural gas out of coal. And we know by going from coal to the synthetic natural gas, SNG, and you need to have you reduce the pollutant, and you also, that takes water as a resources. At the same time, you emit carbon dioxide in that process. Yes, indeed, using the SNG, replacing the coal use, and you can reduce the amount of pollution in the area that traditionally using coal. However, this pollution is left in the natural gas producing area, the synthetic natural gas producing area, such as Inner Mongolia, Shanxi, and Xinjiang. And also, the production of SNG has to do with this natural resource use, but primarily water use. And it has some other adverse impacts on the local area. Well, that's why the central government, through NDRC, has been putting a limit on the growth, the scale, and the speed of the development of the SNG. For instance, the 12th five-year plan, the central government planned to have 17 billion cubic meters of natural gas, and very limited in the amount. With this smog control, and this limit has been lifted. So by now, more than 260 billion cubic meters of SNG has been approved. And let's look at this map. This map shows some of the major sources of SNG production. And these areas include mostly the western and southwestern areas, such as Xinjiang, Gansu, Inner Mongolia, Shanxi, Sichuan, and some of the in Yunnan. So basically, you see some outbreak of this SNG products. And this has become a major concern, as I just mentioned. 61 products and 260 billion cubic meters of SNG has been approved by the central government and the local government. And if you look at this, the relationship between the PM2.5, a major concern for the smog control, and the burning of coal and burning of natural gas. And we understand from the scientists that so far our coal-firing power plants has been very effective in eliminating sulfur dioxide and the nitrous oxide. As a matter of fact, unlike the sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide is generated through the burning process of coal and of natural gas. And another interesting fact is, you do not really produce less of nitrous oxide with the burning of natural gas or synthetic natural gas as compared to coal. So the current technology has been pretty good with reducing the sulfur dioxide and the nitrous oxide coal firing, but the technology has not been as good for the natural gas. Therefore, a very interesting consequence of this is, even with the burning of natural gas, you do not really significantly reduce the amount of nitrous oxide. All right? You do not really, in some cases, you even produce more nitrous oxide. We know nitrous oxide is the major source of PM 2.5. So with this means that with the coal to gas projects and then burning the coal for power generation, this becomes pretty bad use of natural gas, and you do not necessarily reduce the PM 2.5 with this process. So our colleagues has made a number of recommendations for areas like in Beijing and the similar areas. Perhaps it is a good idea, considering this impact, it's a good idea to use the natural gas, synthetic or not, in the places to directly replace coal burning rather than to use this high quality fuel for power generation. A third major finding has to do with the urbanization. And we know in the next 20 to 30 years, the urbanization rate of China will go from currently a little more than 50% to 65%, even 70%. That means we'll add another 200 million people into the cities. And we know a major feature of urbanization has to do with something we call the lock-in effect. With urbanization, and we basically need to build a lot of infrastructure, lots of power plants, and once we put all this infrastructure there, traffic, buildings, power plants, other facilities, utilities, and they will stay there for a long time, 3, 4, 5 decades, even longer. And we know in the past, from what we learned from other countries and also from China, and this urbanization process has brought in the major increase in the emission of carbon. So basically, if you look at the last decade, with a 1% of increase in urbanization, basically you increase the carbon emission by more than 400 million tons. That's a very, very major change. Therefore, the China's path towards urbanization has to go a different way. And this different way is characterized primarily by this low carbon development. And China started in the year 2010 and has named 8 different cities together with 5 different provinces for low carbon pilot. And at the end of 2012, China developed yet another group of low carbon pilots, which include 28 cities, 1 province. So altogether, there have been 36 cities that are involved in this low carbon city development. And interestingly, these cities are not necessarily low in their carbon emission, measured by their carbon intensity, namely carbon use per unit of GDP, and measured by the per capita carbon use. As a matter of fact, measured by per capita carbon use, and these cities actually higher than most of the cities in China, and many of the cities in Europe, even some of the cities in the United States. What this means, these low carbon pilots are not necessarily low carbon. Why choose all of these high carbon cities for low carbon city pilots? Well, one major consideration is by working with these cities, if indeed we can succeed achieving the trend of decarbonization, and these experiences can be scaled up to other cities so that we can learn from these cities and get some experiences, then we can expand to include others. And this will help other cities to follow. Our next major findings has to do with shale gas. And with the success of the United States, the shale gas revolution there, and we know that the shale gas has contributed to the decarbonization and low carbon development in the United States by just about more than a third. So this is a major success. And China, as another big carbon emitter, we hope to achieve the same effect, and we look at the shale gas. But what we found here is, before the 2030, and from now until 2030, we do not really see China can actually repeat the success of this. But with after 2030, and we do see the shale gas began to pick up and become a major factor to bring down bring down the carbon emission in China. And let's keep in mind, 2030 is just about the time when we anticipate the carbon emission peak here in China. So we know when the carbon peaks, and there can be a plateau, and then there can be a quick drop. That we do look at the shale gas and expect that shale gas will become a major factor that bring down the carbon emission after the carbon peak. Therefore, it's going to be some major factor to keep in mind. And as I just mentioned, the 5th major findings has to do the low carbon financing. And here we include two parts. One is on the energy efficiency financing, and the other one is on renewable energy. And as in previous years, and we made this the so-called spaghetti chart, and something pioneered by my former colleague Barbara Buchner from the Climate Policy Initiative. And we did this for the energy efficiency and for the renewable energy. So basically, this is what we have found here, is China continue to be the leader, a world leader, global leader in putting the money into renewable energy development on energy efficiency. So basically, just about $65 billion US is spent on energy efficiency and on renewable energy. As we know, last year, 2013, the world has suffered from a major drop of energy efficiency investment. And overall, there is a reduction of 12% in renewable energy worldwide. And China is perhaps the major economy that has suffered the least drop in renewable energy. And we know, for instance, Germany and many European countries, they have a drop of renewable energy by more than 40%. And China suffered a minor drop of just about 3%. The six major findings has to do is our understanding of how energy efficiency financing work. So here in China, the energy efficiency financing is driven by the government funding, primarily from the central government. From our analysis, we found while the central government is putting in a lot of money in this area to help the business, even help the local government to go for energy efficiency, the efficiency of this financing has not been very high. And this is a problem. We found the leverage rate of this the government funding has been relatively low as compared to other major market economies. And this is true in the building sector in particular. Overall, even in industry, in transport, in other consumption consumer goods, this is almost you can find this in other areas, almost true in all different areas. Now, let's move to the seventh major finding about the role of the governments in financing the activities in solar PV activities, solar PV enterprises. And solar PV initially was not designed as a strategic area for renewable energy development. However, the solar PV industry has been growing very, very rapidly. And we know the Chinese solar PV panels in the world just about half of the total the production. And at the same time, we understand all the vast majority of these solar panels are sold in other places, 95, 97%. So the question is, why the Chinese enterprises will move into this area? And our answer is, the government, especially the local government, played some major role here. And we documented the flow of the money that goes from the government or from the government-backed the national banks. And we also document many different roles the local government play in promoting the solar PV industry. So basically, the local government considers the solar PV industries, enterprises, as a source of GDP and source of the revenue, tax revenue. So therefore, that they're very keen in putting all the effort behind this the solar PV industries. So they support these industries by playing the role of providing the capital, and by some preferential treatment of resources, including the land and labor, and they help the enterprises to get the easier loans. They coordinate the operations of these enterprises, and in occasions they also serve as the members of the board for these companies. It's a very interesting dynamics. Comparatively, central government played much less a role, especially in the initial stages. However, ever since the financial crisis, we have seen the central government has been helping these solar PV enterprises, even after the financial crisis, when the United States and Europe started their investigation on the subsidy and dumping, anti-subsidy, anti-dumping investigation. All these enterprises face the major difficulty, major challenges in exporting. Now the central government coming forth to provide the funding and also provide the provincial policies to develop the deployment in domestically. And we moved our attention to some industrial processes and to see how these enterprises, enterprises respond to energy saving policies. This is interesting to us because ever since mid-1990s, most of the industrial enterprises has going through a privatization process. Well, that means the government does not really have a direct regulation, the direct administration over these enterprises. But why these prices still responding to the energy saving policies? And we also would like to find out how they are responding. What we found is very interesting. The government policies actually help some of the major enterprises, the so-called large, energy consumers, especially those what we call the top 10, top 1,000, help them in several different ways. For instance, they help these enterprises in capacity building and help these enterprises to understand better their energy behaviors and effect by helping them doing the auditing. And we also see this command and control process when an agreement is signed between the government and enterprises, and how these agreements is taken seriously by the enterprises and carry on. One very interesting process, for instance, and many of these major energy consumers, they are still state-owned, and they are connected with the local government, so that is where the agreement is signed. They are also connected to their mother companies, the groups, say CNPC, for instance, and these two ways control and have some very important impact on the behavior of energy savings of the local companies. And we have also found that with this market-based policy instruments developed, and these energy saving, these major large enterprises are also responding to this. And related to this, and we see moving from the 11th five-year plan to the 12th five-year plan, which is the current period going from 2011 to 2015, is not as successful. The 11th five-year plan, that's when the industrial energy savings covered by this program called the top 1,000. Now we're moving to a top 10,000. As a matter of fact, includes the more than 17,000 enterprises, much smaller in their size, the much more types of enterprises, including not only the industrial actors, but also non-industrial actors like the universities, for example. And we see the what worked in the 11th five-year plan may not work as effectively, as efficiently in the top 10,000 enterprises. So basically, we may conclude that this we have not really found the right policy tool, the policy instrument to address the challenges in for the smaller enterprises. Now, if you put an overall assessment of what's going on in low carbon development in China for the last year and for the year for the 2 years before for the 12th five-year plan, what we have found is, so basically the low carbon development in the 12th five-year plan has followed the trend that in the 11th five-year plan. So basically, it is on track to achieve the target. And we know the target for the 12th five-year plan is 16% cut in energy intensity, 17% cut in carbon intensity. We have also found in the last 8 years, ever since 2005, China has been able to achieve the reduction of energy intensity by more than 26%, and carbon intensity reduction 28%. So this means the annual decrease of energy intensity is it's just about 3.7%. This is a major achievement. You can't really find any other major economies have such a decarbonization rate. And this leads to the China right on track to achieve to fulfill the commitment made at Copenhagen in December 2009. Comparatively, if you look at the United States, Japan, Canada, and you find these countries, even though they have made their commitment at Copenhagen, they are not doing as well. They are not really on track to fulfill their commitment. Now, this is our overall commitment. So if we look at all these factors in the 12th five-year plan, we have been able to identify 5 different factors that are contributing to this change. The first factor is the economic slowdown. And we have seen entering the 12th five-year plan, there is a very obvious trend to slow down the economy. And right now, previously China enjoys a double-digit growth every year, but now we are entering the 8% and 7% growth. And this economic slowdown has contributed to the slowdown of the slowdown of carbon emission. And what is profound is not only the central government, starting this year, even local government, provincial government, they have now coming forth to reduce their own economic growth rate. The second factor has to do with this low carbon urbanization. A year ago, when people were talking about the investment and using urbanization as a major driver, a major engine for the economic development, now we're talking about low carbon, compact, the green, and smart urban growth. Well, this means low carbon. This means the urbanization rate, urbanization rate, as well as the carbon emission rate will be slowed down. A third factor is the air pollution control, and especially that smog control. And we have realized the smog control is really helping to achieve the co-benefit between the air pollution control and low carbon development. A fourth factor is the energy mix. And the energy mix target for the 12th five-year plan is to achieve 11.4%. And China is right on track to achieve that energy mix. Now I have to emphasize here is the real challenge for that target is not because how fast you can actually increase the renewable energy, the share of the overall amount of renewable energy. It really lies in the very fact that the overall energy use is really large, and it is at the same time it is growing in a very rapid rate. Therefore, for every percent of the increase of renewable energy, it's going to be really, really difficult. Finally, carbon market. And starting the last year, China has allocated 7 different provinces and cities to experiment the idea of cap and trade of carbon. And we have already seen with all these pilots, more than 800 million tons of carbon dioxide are being traded. And this makes China the largest carbon market, second only to the EU. And China actually following the footsteps of the EU ETS. And we know the EU ETS is experiencing a lot of difficulty, and we're trying to see whether or not we can succeed. If China is succeed with these local pilots, the idea is by the year 2016, we'll expand the market to cover the entire country. Just to give you an idea how this compared to the international market, Guangdong province is really not the largest carbon market, but yet Guangdong province, and even without the city of Shenzhen, is already greater than the entire state of California under AB 32. It's a very, very big market. So we do anticipate the carbon market will be a major complementary mechanism to improve the implementation mechanism, which is rely primarily on the administrative system. And moving forward, we see this is China is making some major progress with a lot of difficulty, and in the meantime, we're experimenting some of the mechanisms. So these are the 10 major findings I just presented to you, and we very much look forward to hear your feedback on this. And finally, I would like to thank my team, which consists of this very young faces, fresh blood, and they're making great progress, making some major contributions to the low carbon development here in China. Thank you very much.